Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. I had a special request to do a how I hang my hammock for kind of my current setup. I did one a while back and talked about how I hung it up. I have had that hammock since fail, and now I am on to a much better hammock, probably one that I should have bought in the first place. But when you're new to hammock camping, you don't go for the high-end models right away. You go for something cheap and affordable, and that's what I did. So it's no surprise that in the end, those hammocks ended up failing on me. So I have since moved on to buying Hennessy hammocks. This is the Deep Jungle Asymmetric Zip. This hammock is absolutely amazing. I don't feel like there's any reason that the hammock's going to come down on me or anything like that. I'm absolutely loving using these Hennessy hammocks. Of course, not a paid endorsement. I bought this with my own money. I really like this hammock. It's definitely bigger than the ones I normally buy, but that's not a problem. So basically this video is going to be how I currently set up my hammock, subject to change, of course, but this is what I am doing in the here and now. So we'll get right to it. Going over some of the things that I use. So I use what's called Lash It, and it's a thin line with pretty much no stretch in it, and this stuff I think is rated for 500 pounds, and that's pretty awesome. This stuff is not heavy and it has no stretch, just a really great line. I've used it for many different things. So I have probably about 25-30 feet of this Lash It line. I just have a simple, nothing special carabiner that we'll use to wrap around the tree. This is just an aluminum spool that I bought online, and just to keep it all nice and neat. There is a couple of Night Eyes products on here which I use to keep the tarp and everything tied down. So this would be my ridge line. I found that the best straps to hang from the trees on are made by War Bonnet, and they're nice long straps that have this special little aluminum clip here. And so basically these straps are infinitely adjustable. You just pull tight on the line here on the strap, and it'll put you exactly where you want it. I like to hang my hammocks tight, probably a lot tighter than most people would do, or manufacturers for Hennessy would recommend. They recommend kind of a lazy lay. I like mine nice and taut and tight, and so that's what I do. One problem with making your hammock that tight when you're hanging is it can be hard to undo these buckles to release the tension on them because they're pulled so tight. So I actually found this little device here. It's a quick release shackle, and this has the ability to, you pull a line here and it'll just come out, and it doesn't matter how much pressure is on the line, that will release if you pull on that little rope. And I'll just say now, links for everything will be below, so you can find this stuff yourself. Just in case this little device were to fail and I was to drop, it's got a working load of like 1,000 pounds or something like that, so I'm really not worried. But I also have a double wrapped line of Lash It that I will attach to the carabiner on the hammock. So should this little device for any reason fail, I will then have 2 Lash It lines to catch the hammock before it would fall. And at 500 pounds, so give me 1,000 pounds of combined holding strength, these 2 lines should have no problem should this shackle fail. And like I said, this little shackle will have a link below as to actually where to buy it and how it works and everything. So great little device. And then that is just on the line that comes with the War Bonnet straps. So we'll get these wrapped around the tree, and we'll get started getting set up. All right, so you can see here, strap just wraps around the tree, runs through its own loop, and then an absolute ton of additional line. This allows me some pretty long hangs. I always start out about head high with the tree straps. You'll probably end up adjusting everything as time goes on. You'll see that I have the strap, the back of the strap comes this way around the tree on this one. On this tree, you can see I have the strap that comes around the other side of the tree. So it kind of just offsets and balances itself. And then this is the side, this is the foot side that has that special shackle. The reason I do the foot side is if there was a failure and the hammock fell, I would fall feet first and not head first. So that's the theory behind doing that special shackle on the foot side. So the Hennessy hammocks come with their own special kind of proprietary way to hang. They have these lines, and you're supposed to do like a loop and a lash it and all kinds of goofy things. And I don't bother with any of that. I just simply tied the rope that's attached to the hammock into a loop and attach a carabiner, and then I attach it right to the line on these war bonnet straps. Obviously, the more you hang, the more comfortable you'll get where everything needs to be positioned, and that'll make life a lot easier. So I got my carabiner on my hammock side. I connect that to my quick release shackle, and then I take my 2 lines of lash it and put them through that carabiner as well. All the pressure is on that special shackle, and that prevents those lash it lines from actually being what's holding pressure. All right, so if you're going to use this quick release shackle like I do, I have the quick release shackle linked to the carabiner. Under pressure, it would be really hard to relieve the pressure on these buckles here. Okay, so these just slide. That's what gives you the infinite adjustability. And then popping that quick release is what would allow the shackle to release, giving you enough slack to then loosen the rest of the strap off. And then you can see I have the lash it on the carabiner as well as a backup should something go wrong with that quick release shackle. And the only reason I'm doing that is because this has still only been used a few times, and in my mind it's untested, and this is not the stated use of this device, but it's just what I'm using it for. But so the lash it would give me one little bit of catch if the buckle did fail, and then again, this is feet side of the hammock. So if this does all fail and I go down feet first. And then the way that these infinite adjust straps work is you just pull, and that gives you as much strength and tautness as you would need. All right, so essentially that's the basic setup. You'll always want to sit in the hammock. That'll tighten it onto the trees. It'll cinch down all the straps. Okay, give you a good hang. At that point, if you want to go a little tighter, these amazingly simple straps, just give it another pull, and you're basically done. Like I said, I usually start so that the tree straps and the internal ridgeline on this hammock are about head height. And that's where I start. I like to hang a little higher off the ground. All right, so taking a look at the hammock now completely hung, literally just takes minutes or seconds if you've done it enough times. So we got the head side here. This is again, the war bonnet strap down to a carabiner and the lines that come with the Hennessy. It's built in, and then the nice thing about the Hennessy is it does have a built-in ridge line. Once again, we have the foot side of the hammock linked to that quick release shackle, the double lash it line just as a fail-safe, and then the war bonnet, what I like to call infinite adjust tree straps. Many tree straps have loops sewn into them every so often, so then you would put your carabiner on those loops, but that doesn't give you always the perfect hang. So that's what I like about these ones, is I just take them, tighten it, put it where I want, and I'm done. And the nice thing about these is look how much more strap I have and could potentially use. So, and of course you can see about how wide these trees are apart. So when I do my hammocks and I stake them down, I like to use those little those little tri-sided spikes, aluminum spikes. Try to get some good quality ones, otherwise they tend to bend on you. And then if I have the option, I try to use these really large sand spikes. And give you an idea here, that's the difference in size. In dirt and sand soils, these things are amazing. They slide in really nice and easy, and they hold a lot of weight in the wind, and in the sand then they're better about not pulling up and out. These things don't really hold in the sand. These things do, and these aren't that heavy. So I usually bring 6 of these with me when I go on my trips, but these are generally what I use to stake down the tarp especially. All right, so now that we have the hammock up, we're gonna run the ridge line. Okay, and the ridge line I usually start about the same height, maybe even just a little taller than the hammock, and it all depends on the situation you're in. If you need to adjust it above or below the strap, you sure can, but we'll just run this ridge line real quick. Night Eyes sells what are called figure 9 hooks, and these are basically a line tensioner, and they work absolutely perfect for ridge lines. So we're going to get this on here, and we'll tighten down this ridge line. You want your ridge line tight, and I'll show you what it looks like after we're done. All right, so we have the figure 9 right there. It's going to be a little tricky to see with the backlighting of the sky probably, but there it is. So you put there's directions on how to do these actually printed on the side of these hooks, but you'll basically feed your line on the ridge line side through the figure 9 hook around the tree, and then you'll wrap it around this hook, pull it tight, and that gives you a really tight ridge line, and then you wrap it around the little jagged edge there. Hopefully the video's coming in, and that'll lock your ridge line nice and tight. On the ridge line, I have 2 sets of press-x knots. On each press-x knot, I have these small Night Eyes hooks. These will connect to each end of the tarp. The magic of a press-x knot is, if done correctly, you can slide this knot up and down the line. But if you pull straight on, it'll lock and it won't move. So that's what's so cool about a press-x knot. And these latchet lines aren't the best for the press-x knot because I tend to have them roll over themselves, but it does work exceedingly well as a ridge line knot. All right, so Hennessy has their own tarps that they sell, and I finally bought one and I really like it. This is the Hex tarp, I believe. The color is bark. Again, links will be below. What I like about it, it's not exactly compact, but for me, it works amazing because it's a nice heavy-duty, at least seemingly heavy-duty tarp. And I've been really liking it. I like it because it gives me a little bit more room to work with. I have an ultralight tent that I use, but it's almost the exact same size as the hammock. And the problem with that is if you get some bad weather, you can have issues with rain blowing around the edges of the tarp. And that is not what we're after. Okay, so I clipped the tarp to those Night Eyes hooks on the press-x knot. Get the tarp pulled around and over the hammock, over the ridge line. And once up, I'll take and I'll give those press-x knot a good pull. And that gives the tarp a great tension. One nice feature about this Hennessy tarp is they have this little pocket that is sewn into the corners here, and you can just kind of stick your line up in there. Makes it a nice little stowaway for it. All right, so you can kind of get a sense of the size of these tarps that Hennessy sells, or at least this version. Plenty of room in here. The nice thing is when you hang, you'll pull down the hammock a little bit, and then you'll have even more room on the sides here. You can run right off of the ridge line, the internal ridge line, in the hammock if you wanted. I like to use a dedicated ridge line because when you hang, sometimes you'll pull down on the hammock. The tarp will also pull down with you, or the rain fly, and I don't like that. I like the hammock and the rain fly to be completely separate, and that way I don't have any droop in my fly. And of course, as you sit and use this, you can make adjustments as necessary and get a little bit tighter if you need to, or looser if that's what you're after. And but yeah, that's essentially ready to go, and a great way to spend the night out in the wilderness. One option when you set up your rain fly is to do what I call the porch setup. So what you can do, I happen to have shovel sitting here, so that's why we're using a shovel. But generally in the wilderness, I'll use sticks. I don't feel like going searching for sticks. So you'll just take and one way or another, set a stick under the corner of the tarp. So once you put your stick under the corner of the tarp, go ahead and stake it down so it's nice and tight so it doesn't blow around. And in doing this on both sides, you'll get a great kind of a porch feel. So when you're laying in the hammock, you can actually see out and enjoy whatever it is you're hanging along, be it the riverbank or just the wilderness. So if you put a stick under both ends, obviously it'll raise up. You can see, gives you a great view out. Just make sure if you're going to get some high winds or weather, consider putting it back down to more of an angle. But yeah, this is my favorite way to hang, where I have a great view out my little porch setup of a rainfly. So one thing to always consider when you're setting up a hammock is weather. If you're going to get really high winds, you're definitely going to want to make sure you either really tie out your guy lines and make sure that they're really taut so that you don't have a lot of flapping, a lot of wind. If the wind grabs it and takes it and it's raining, you're going to have a rough night. Nice thing about a tarp of this size is you can lower it down to the ground pretty good, and that'll help, deflect a lot of the wind. One of the nice things about this fly is that it does have an additional line tucked in right here on the ridgeline side, and I can pull that out, and if I know it's going to be a really windy day or evening, I can take that extra line and wrap it around the tree and then tie it back to the tarp as well, so that it's actually double tied down. Tied once to the ridge line through the press-6 knots, and then once through its own line to tie it to the tree. These little Night Eyes hooks, as great as they are, they're not designed to take an absolute ton of pressure. I mean, they're only rated for 5 pounds. I have had them break in high winds. So it's good to have just an extra little tie down just in case something happens. But yeah, and I've gone through a couple storms now in this rainfly, and it's held up really well. So this is, in my opinion, one of the best ways you can camp. Tents are great. Obviously, tents have been being used forever, but I have never slept as comfortable in a hammock as I have in any other way camping. Even in RVs, if you will. Sleeping in a hammock to me is the most comfortable way to go. It gets you up off the ground. If it's raining out, it gets you off the wet ground. And when it comes time to clean up, especially like on the sandy banks of the Mississippi River, I don't have a bunch of sand stuck to the bottom of my tent in this hammock. Like, all you do is you just, pull your ends, wrap it up, stuff it in the bag as you go. Everything stays high and dry, and you're just simply done. So it's a convenience factor. It's a comfort factor. I absolutely love being in the hammocks, and yeah, so I'm going to continue using them, obviously. But this is my current setup for how I set up hammocks. I hope it's helpful to you. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, recommendations of yourself, go ahead, comment down below, and let me know what you think. This video was a request, so that's why I'm doing it. But yeah, this is my current method, subject to change, of how I'm hanging my hammock. All right, so that's how I currently hang my hammock. I hope this video was helpful to you. Again, if you have questions, comments, complaints, whatever you got, give me a thumbs up if you appreciate the videos. Lets me know to keep making them. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. So until next time, y'all take care, and we'll see you on the next one.